Two of the most important characters in the storyline of Vinland Saga are Thorfinn and Canute, as these two figures have seen their fair share of different life experiences and are two of the most prominent characters in the manga today due to the actions that they took for their own personal goals. Of course, they both met under different circumstances compared to the current circumstances in the manga. So, with that said, will Thorfinn and Canute ever become friends in Vinland Saga? It is unlikely that Thorfinn and Canute will ever become friends in Vinland Saga. That's because both of them have different ideals and goals in life. While Thorfinn is looking to launch an expedition to the west to establish a settlement in Vinland, Canute is looking to secure a paradise for Vikings in Europe. Also, it is worth mentioning that too much has happened between Thorfinn and Canute. After all, Canute was the man responsible for killing Askeladd and sending Thorfinn off to be sold as a slave. While things ended up well for Thorfinn, Canute is still someone who has done a lot to him and has already taken an entirely different path in life. As such, let's look at the dynamic between Thorfinn and Canute. Ever since the first season of Vinland Saga, it was already clear that there were two important figures that the series would explore. The first is, of course, Thorfinn because he is the main character and protagonist of the story. Meanwhile, the second is Canute, who is of Danish royalty and is the most important figure as far as the Danish are concerned. Thorfinn and Canute met during the war against England when the latter was still just a prince that was ordered to command the Danish army in a battle against the English. When Prince Canute failed due to his lack of military training and experience, he and his armies had to flee. Thorfinn was there with them because he was part of Askeladd's band of mercenaries, which were contracted to aid the Danish in the war against the English. During the time when Canute was fleeing together with Askeladd's men, Askeladd put Thorfinn in charge of keeping the prince protected. Of course, the only reason why Thorfinn listened to Askeladd's order was that he was promised a duel with him if ever he would comply with the mercenary leader's commands. Due to the fact that he wanted to kill Askeladd in a fair duel and that this was the only thing he ever wanted in life, Thorfinn agreed to be Canute's bodyguard. At that time, Canute was with his personal aide and father figure, Ragnar, who was speaking on behalf of the prince while they were fleeing from Thorkel and the English army. However, Ragnar was quick to notice that Canute, a soft-spoken and shy teenage boy at that time, wasn't shy about speaking to Thorfinn and sharing his thoughts on certain matters. This surprised Ragnar, who knew that Canute only preferred to speak to him. Of course, during that time, the relationship between Thorfinn and Canute was professional because of the fact the circumstances they were in. Thorfinn was put in charge of keeping the prince protected. Meanwhile, Canute was actually the supposed leader of the Danish army that was fleeing from the English. But it was Canute's conversations with Thorfinn, along with his experiences and the sacrifice of Ragnar, that convinced him to finally step up to the leadership plate and become a true monarch.